like basketball. I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Going. What the fuck? Okay, there we go. Jeez, it's getting a little difficult to spread the truth in these days. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the only NBA podcast talking about literally the last two active teams in the NBA. I'm Jack, a.k.a. Joestar. With me, as always, the world-famous Pablo. We've faced a trial. We've faced like a long list of trials getting this podcast started. Cicadas have been attacking the Ballmobile. Somebody's been stuck in a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. The button to start the recording was sabotaged by outside forces. I really feel like we're going to touch on some topics in this video, in this podcast, that higher powers don't want you to know about. So stay tuned if you're interested in, I don't know, subverting the deep state, something like that. Pablo, how you doing today?
If I'm a Caitlin Clark fan, am I a white supremacist?
Yes.
More on that at 5.
Okay, right on.
That's literally becoming the Larry Bird situation from the 80s or whatever. It's just like history repeating itself.
So with that, do you mean white supremacists are flocking to her, or people are like defaulting to calling you that if you support her?
It's like with Larry Bird. So yeah. Larry Bird got a ton of hype because he was an all-time great player. Like, all the hype was warranted.
The Great White Hope. Was that literally his nickname?
I think it might have been.
That is so insane that they got away with that.
And so he got all this hype. And then there were some people who were like, I'm into this because he's white. Like, he's the best because he's white. And then people were like, hey, you're only into him because he's white. And then people were like, no, I'm into him because he's talented. And then it became old. And then Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, they were like, the only reason you guys think he's great is because he's white. And then everyone's like, no, he's a great player. And it just becomes the worst conversation in the world. And that's what's going on with Caitlin Clark. They're like, the white supremacists are uniting behind her, Clay Travis and everybody, and it's like, I'm into Caitlin Clark for pull-up threes from the logo, not for
any of this
race war.
She could even be Dominican, and I would still support her. I mean, honestly, there was a moment with when Kendrick Perkins pivoted the Jokic MVP talks to he's white last year, there was a moment where Jokic, I'm surprised he didn't become that. Maybe the Eastern European thing keeps a lot of like the hardcore racists away from it. I'm not sure, but
I think they genuinely don't identify with him. Like, if I don't know how it works, but I guess if you are from Eastern Europe, they're like, you're not one of us.
That does not count. Get out of here. So I think because there was like a couple moments where the Twitter accounts like End Wokeness or shit, they were like tweeting out Jokic highlights, being like, you're telling me this just because he's white? And it's like, that was a scary moment for me online. I was like, dude, I don't want to pivot the brand, but you guys are making it really uncomfortable right now. So yeah, shout out to Caitlin Clark, but also shout out to black women too. You know, shout out to everybody. Shout out to the WNBA. Everybody but Boston, pretty much. And even then, on a technicality, shout out to Boston for winning game 1 of the finals. I do have a lobby. Okay, so my lobbyist request, absolutely nothing to do with basketball. Do you want me to save it for after game 1 talk, or do you want to just bullshit for like 15 minutes at the beginning?
It's your call.
All right. Frederick Borner wants to know, what were y'all's favorite games on your mom's phone growing up? Now, my mom did not have games on her phone growing up, but I did want to pivot this into what was your favorite website for games as a kid? Were you like a DisneyChannel.com guy? I was a CartoonNetwork.com guy. I remember that. I remember Teen Titans had like a really cool side-scrolling like Mortal Kombat type game that I liked a lot, and Ben 10 had a cool game as well. What were you on when you were a kid?
Yeah, I played both of those games too. I was primarily Cartoon Network. My big game was Big Fat Awesome House Party. Did you ever play that?
Let me look it up because Big Fat.
It was Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and you create your own imaginary friend, and then you live in the house, and you get to do chores, and you get to rack up stuff for your room.
Damn, that's sick. No, I never played that one. That sounds dope. Because I had a Webkins, and that kind of that scratches a lot of that itch in terms of like racking up things to make your room cooler. I had a Penguin Webkins, and his room was pretty sick for a while there. But
did you ever play Club Penguin?
No, I never did. That's one of the experiences. I won't say I'm like furious I missed out on it, but like it definitely feels when someone's like, "Oh, you never watched SpongeBob as a kid?" When I tell them I never played Club Penguin, people freak the fuck out. I'm like, "Yeah, just my mom for a long time. I only got like 30 minutes of computer time a day, and so once I graduated from that time limit, I was kind of beyond Club Penguin. I fucked with RuneScape for a little bit, but those are like very different vibes."
Yeah, Club Penguin gets old quickly if you don't pay, and I didn't pay for it. So, but I was a big Maple Story guy for a while.
Dude, you know what changed the game for me? Was the first few seasons or islands of Pop Tropica. Those were really fun.
I never played that. I don't even really know what that is.
Oh, okay. So as time went on, okay, so like you make a character, and in the first island, I remember there's like a story that you uncover by like just going around and talking to people, and it eventually leads you on this big adventure where you find out that like maybe the mayor is lying about something. I don't remember exactly. I remember there was like a conspiratorial element to it. And then as time went on, they started collabing more and more with like kids media shit. So like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, there was an island like that where you went through and you had like an adventure with Greg Heffley. And once I started falling off, I remember they did stuff with the Big Nate comic as well. But it was fun. It was cool. It was like less trying to like make your room really cool, but you did have the same character every time you logged on, and like you could collect shit as you like went through the stories and stuff.
I was just at Meijer yesterday. You know Meijer, right? Is Meijer everywhere?
No, I've never heard of Meijer. Is it a
Oh,
store?
it might be like an Illinois only thing. Yeah, it's basically like Walmart kind of.
Well, just fucking doxed yourself. Oh my god.
Oh, God, I'm people. Well, actually, no. I think it is in the entire Midwest.
Okay. Well, he could be anywhere then, guys. Don't worry.
I could be. It's definitely in Indiana as well. I just saw a Big Nate book or whatever. And then is that a popular thing? I can't believe the some of the displays. I'm like, I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Yeah. I think that I would assume like kids like 2 years directly younger than us. I think it's huge with that age. Like, I think we just missed the train because I've read some of the comics, and it's kind of like Calvin and Hobbes pilled. Like, it is like a genuinely funny comic in a lot of these in a lot of the cases, but I never caught on while it was coming out, and so yeah, I don't care. I have no nostalgia associated with it, and so I just look at it through normal colored glasses, not rose colored glasses, and it doesn't really do anything for me at that point.
I was looking at a newspaper comic section. It was so bad. Do you know about Pearls Before Swine?
Oh, dude, I love Pearls Before Swine because it is such an old person's idea of a funny joke. Like, that's what I think every time I read it.
I was so mad looking at this. I'm like, he gets paid to do this?
Yeah, Pearls Before Swine. That one I like because it's not just that the content of the comic is old. It's that the title is like that's an old person saying. Nobody says pearls before swine anymore. I feel like I have to look it up every other time I see the phrase to see like what it means. But yeah, it's just a lot of comics are like that where it's just like clearly jokes for fucking old people. But I like the Wizard of Id. I remember when I was growing up, that was a good one in my comic strips.
Or is that wizard married to a lady?
I can't remember. Why do you ask?
Because I think that was another one of the ones I read, but I was just going through all of them. I was like, these are so horrible. I was like, I need to learn how to draw. I could dominate this market, but I and then I googled the pearls before swine guy, and then like apparently he's a very nice guy, they say, and he got Bill Watterson to come out of retirement to work with him one time or something. I'm like, how is this the guy?
Yeah, that's very strange. That's like who is that like? That's like it's not like Michael. It's like Michael Jordan coming out of retirement to play with like I don't
to
know.
play with Nick Young.
Yeah, was Nick
he
Young on
there?
those Wizards teams? I don't feel
No,
like there is.
by
Okay, so
03,
what's
he
that?
probably wasn't.
2003 Wizards roster because there is some
He
fun young
was
names.
straight out of high school, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, oh, dude, this. Yeah. Okay. So Kwame Brown, obviously. Then Jerry Stackhouse is also there. Larry Hughes and Christian Leitner is there too. I feel like there was somebody who I'm like a Jamal Crawford type guy. Oh, that's who it is. Rip Hamilton was on the 2002 Wizards. So yeah, it's like Michael Jordan coming out of retirement to play alongside Rip Hamilton for 60 games. Shout out to Bill Watterson though. I fuck with him.
They could have been a sick combo.
Okay. I'd say that about does it for the intro. Calm little 11 minutes. Fill air because I got a timestamp and I don't have any of my apps open.
Did you see Draymond talking to Rasheed Wallace?
Yeah, about how they would smack the shit out of the Pistons.
Yeah. Listen, the Pistons can't do that. you can't do that with every championship team. You can't be like, we would demolish the greatest team of all time. So you got guys, you were scoring 70 points a game. sit this one out.
Yeah, like I think they lose that. If Kobe's just like not a psycho, the Lakers have like a real shot to win that series. Like that was the entire thing that defensive approach hinged on was just like, oh no, this guy is going to shoot like these tough shots because we know like how his brain synapses are firing, and so like we're just building that into our game plan. If he was, like a little more passive, maybe if they were a little more focused on getting it to Shaq down low, because that's another thing. Didn't you make a video about Shaq going at Ben Wallace? He's sick. I love Ben Wallace. The fro is super cool. He was super ripped. He's dope. He could not guard Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know why that was like a narrative that kind of developed post 2004 championship. I think he also did a good job when Shaq was in Miami, but like, shut the fuck up, dude. That does not count. Come on, man.
I think when he was on the Bulls, we beat Miami in the first round, and maybe he did a good job then. I don't know.
Damn, I forgot. The Bulls have such a storied history of like fucking washed guys.
I was looking up like the weirdest teams, the weirdest roster, and like in the Reddit thread where they were talking about it, like 3 of the top 5 answers were different Bulls rosters. They were like the baby Bulls, the like I think weird Ben Wallace Bulls, and there was a different one too. There's a lot of funky, bizarre rosters built by incompetent losers.
When you're just trying to win 43 games, literally anything goes. It does not matter as long as you get a couple of talented guys and a couple of big names. We move, baby. All right, I got the app open now, so let's timestamp this real quick and let's get into game 1.
Imagine if Shaq could do a backflip. That was Eddie Curry.
That was Evan Mobley. Oh my God, he did a backflip on the beach.
Oh, he can do a backflip, but he's not 300 pounds.
No, he's like 190 pounds in that video.
Not
Skinny
as
ass.
impressive.
Not impressive. I literally don't care. I could do a backflip if I was 190 pounds. All right. So Boston, pretty good game last night for the Celtics. How are you feeling about it?
It was crazy. I was in shock watching Porzingis. Um, I think there's probably going to be documentaries made about this moment. Because it's Boston specifically. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Bill Simmons is already pitching HBO. He's like, we got to get someone on the phone. This was Willis Reed 2.0.
Well, we do officially. Isn't there a documentary team following the Celtics around this
Oh,
year?
there is. Oh my God, it's gonna be crazy.
So this is literally like written into the script that Porzingis had to do this. That's the only reason Jason Kidd didn't stop switching guards onto him until like
No, Josh Green will get him this time.
Josh Green. He's stocky, okay. He doesn't have the verticality, but he's not getting back down. He's not going to get just shoved into the basket. Meanwhile, Porzingis fucking okay. So yeah, we can start with Porzingis. The Celtics jumped out to a huge lead, as many as 29 points in the second quarter, largely spearheaded by the play of Porzingis. It felt like they were doing well, and then Porzingis checked in, and some of it overlapped with, like, since he was coming off the bench, Luka sat down at a very inopportune time for the Mavs. Like, it felt like Porzingis hit a couple shots, Luka checked out, then things completely blew wide open for Boston. Porzingis finishes with 20 points on 72% true shooting, but he had 18 in the first half alone. 14 of those 18 points came on jump shots. 8 of those points were just like straight up the mismatch mid-range jumper over Josh Green or Hardy or whoever they were throwing at him. Like, it was shocking how much they I mean, I get that Boston spent the entire year finding that mismatch and exploiting it, but I just thought Dallas A would be more prepared for it, and B had like a better variety of guys to avoid getting stuck on Porzingis. Like, I thought they were just bigger than this, and yeah, it turns out when the 7-3 guy can shoot, you have to be really, really big to make that uncomfortable. So he fucking cooked in the first half, and he was really good defensively. That's going to be a theme. The whole team was really good defensively, but Porzingis protecting the rim, it looked like Dallas was unprepared for that. Now, what do you think?
Did Jason Kidd coach him at all in Dallas or
Yeah,
no?
kid's been there forever, I think. Let me see. Porzingis, keep talking.
Because I'm thinking like maybe the last time last time they had him, they were like, all right, this is a guy who cannot kill mismatches. Like him posting up is the worst play in basketball, and he cannot protect the rim at all. So so now that they see him in the finals, they're like, all right, guys, let's just guard him with smaller guys and let's attack him. It's like, oh crap, no, he's doing the exact opposite now. Like, man, it would have been sick to have this guy when we traded for him, but he was not this guy.
Yeah. Do you think some of that? There's been lots of talk about Luka being a star killer. He's not. He can't play. The reason Porzingis couldn't play like this is because Luka wouldn't let him. He's evil. So what do you think about that?
He was mad back then. He complained about like not getting more post ups and like being stuck in the corner, but it was very like I think the reaction to it was similar to the reaction when Dwight Howard wanted more post ups. It's like, okay, why? You're to do what? You're not that good at it. The stats don't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, back then I don't know. I don't know if he was injured the entire time or if he was just worse. But yeah, it's like
Okay.
completely different Porzingis.
So Porzingis, I have it here. The year Kidd started coaching was the year he got traded. So Porzingis plays 34 games for the Mavs under Jason Kidd. He averages 19, 7, and 2 on oh shit. He shot 28% from 3
Oh,
in this. So I mean, yeah, that's probably partial confidence if it gets that fucking low, but still, that's insane. I don't know. I'm like I feel like the reason these mismatches work so well is because of the other Boston personnel and the fact that like you really have to desperately switch a lot of shit because so like every person on the floor for Boston is really capable at putting the ball on the floor and scoring if you don't like respect them. And so I feel like that is something that leads to a lot of these mismatches that isn't necessarily there. With the 22 Mavs with like Dorian Finney-Smith starting and shit. It's just a different caliber of offensive help around Porzingis, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe they were just tricked and he really was like this the whole time.
He's very funky because he was like this in New York at first, and then he wasn't like this.
He had a couple threes in this game that really took me back to the New York run where I remember when like the unicorn phrase took off and like he was just on that generational run of like one or two sick ass highlights a game, be it like a crazy dunk or a block or something.
I think people forget it was about him. He was the original one.
Yeah, and he deserved the name back then too. Like he was insane in New York. Just in terms of like mobility from a guy that size. That I know Giannis was happening at the same time, but there was like a lot more.
He might not have been there yet because what is Porzingis 2015 or is he 2014?
I think Porzingis was a rookie. He's a 2015 draft.
Okay.
So like I think when he was really having that crazy rookie season, was that when was Giannis drafted?
Giannis is 13. So I don't know when Giannis became Giannis. Was it year 3?
That sounds right to me.
The little flashes.
Yeah, I feel like year 2 into year 3 is when we like. I remember that's when it was like, oh, they're running this guy at point guard for the last like 15, 20 games of the season just to see what'll happen. And then it was kind of like this in a similar mold, like this super mobile, insane athlete. But Porzingis being able to shoot and being such like a touch finesse oriented guy on the offensive end, it is a different kind of player. But regardless, yeah, he had a couple threes in this game that took me back to that New York run where it was just like shocking to see. You had seen Steph start to develop the super deep three, and we had gotten used to guards, Dame, everybody taking it. But then when Porzingis came on the scene, he was like ready to shoot those 30-footers as a big guy if you left him open. And it was really shocking to see him make those back then. So now he's doing it on the biggest stage of his career. So props to him, I guess.
And his jumper's kind of ugly. Like he like it just looks like he's chucking it and like not even jumping. It was bizarre. One of his mid-range shots that went in was crazy. But yeah, and then on the defensive end, he had 3 blocks. And
a lot more contests overall, too.
Yeah, he was 20 and 6 rebounds and 3 blocks, and like he was impacting tons of shots at the rim. So if they get this version of him all series long, that'll be nuts. But I don't know if they will.
I know. Shooting 65%, because these are hard shots, and I know he's great at them. But like, you have to imagine Dallas will find a way to make them much more difficult in like a game-to-game adjustment type thing, and B, even if they literally just throw Hardy and Green at him on every mismatch every time, you figure there will be some sort of regression. Like he can't shoot 70% on these like 18-foot falling away jumpers every single time. Maybe he can. Maybe that's why the Celtics won 67 games. It's definitely a big part of it. But yeah. Other than that, Jaylen Brown also very impressive. Both
the handle was looking crisp.
Yes. And I mean, Luka, Jesus Christ. That's a really hard matchup. It was weird to me. It felt like Jaylen Brown was cooking the shit out of Luka and Tatum was not. That was just like weird to see. And I think Tatum was trying to use a little more physicality, which that kind of helps Luka because it doesn't necessitate him like sliding his feet back and forth and staying in front of like a really good lateral athlete. It more so allows him to just like use his strength to defend. Whereas Jaylen Brown, yeah, a couple quick dribble moves blows by him. He had that sick dunk over Kyrie and I think Gafford, and he was getting to the rim pretty much whenever he wanted. And with Porzingis, it was very difficult to have like competent rim protection. That's something the Mavs going up against like Josh Giddey in the starting lineup or Gobert, obviously, they've been able to plant their big men, Lively and Gafford, and have them roam. In game one, that was not the case, and that was kind of one of the concerns for me. There was a lot of concerns for me once you really start to look at how good Boston is, but that was one of the big ones, and it bore out in an important way for Dallas.
Yeah, there was a lot of tactical battling going on. The Celtics were doing a really good job at getting the Mavericks big men out of the paint, just through like movement and stuff like that. And so we did not feel lively in Gafford's presence. Gafford, this was not a good rim protection game. Like they were going at him and he was just not stopping them. And then offensively, they got contained as well. They took let's see, I wrote it down somewhere. They only took 4 shots between the two of them. And so that was obviously slowed down by the Celtics were switching everything for long stretches. They were like conceding Al Horford on Luka and stuff like, and Porzingis on Kyrie, and they were holding up on those switches. Like there was a point, yeah, after one of Porzingis's big threes, he guarded Kyrie and blocked his like fadeaway 2-point jumper.
Oh my God! Yeah, I remember that.
Crazy. Everything was going max level well. So you got to think that'll change going forward. Like you got to think Luka and Kyrie will be, because this is basically, if you're switching, then you force the team into iso ball, and you would think this is what the Mavericks want.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
They'll take Kyrie and Luka mismatches, but it didn't go well. Kyrie was
stinky.
Yeah, he was like 16 points on 19 shots or something.
Yeah, 6 of 19 for 31%
points on 19 shots. Yikes! And Luka had 1 assist, which part of it was the scheming, like the switching, so less passes open up. But there were still passes, and he was still making passes, but they weren't making. His teammates weren't making anything.
Yeah. And even moving forward, I'm not sure if this will be like a great playmaking series for Luka, just because I think the Celtics are going to have the personnel to be able to like close out hard on whoever Luka passes the ball to and not give up that shot. And so maybe the Mavs set something up where their best shooters are like 2 passes away, so you could make the swing pass into an open 3. But I do feel like a lot of it was just the Celtics making these great runouts after putting Luka into a really difficult position, getting downhill, and even on Horford. That's kind of the benefit of having Tatum and Brown and Derek White out there, is like you have these guys who are still good rim protectors. Once Luka gets downhill on an Al Horford, or even, I mean, Porzingis, didn't even feel last night like he had that much of an advantage getting downhill on Porzingis, because there's still like so many of your layup or lob angles are taken away from behind because there's this fucking building following you down into the paint. And yeah, so that's really where he felt. I mean, not a great game offensively from Tatum. And I saw somebody quote, it was like, he's the first all NBA, first team all NBA guy to have like Josh Hart standards in the finals. But he played well enough to get the job done. He was dribbling a lot. He was penetrating the defense and getting them into rotation and shit. So I'm not gonna harp on Tatum too hard, but he's definitely not. I mean, that game alone, he was not the Finals MVP of Game 1. I will say that.
Yeah, I think people just need to accept what he is, and I've had issues with him before, but I feel like the ESPN and like all the mainstream basketball media, I feel like they're not even pumping him up to that level anymore. Like
Yeah.
who still has it feels like everyone's mad at him for not living up to expectations that were set like 2 years ago. But I don't know if anyone still has him anymore.
Yeah. I think it feels like the MVP push this year was the last real like just the team is so good and he's their best player. Like that was the last real argument the media is going to make for him until he shows something like 50 points in a game 7 again or something like that. Because yeah, I made the same take on Twitter where it was like, I think anybody expecting Tatum to be Luka or Jokic or Giannis or whoever, that's unreasonable. And if you hold him to those standards, you're going to be disappointed. But if you expect him to just be like a top 7 guy, I think he's played well by those standards in this postseason run. He definitely didn't play at that level last night. I think he finished with 16 points, 5 assists, 6 turnovers. I think he shot 6 of 16 from the field. So it was a pretty rough game offensively from a production standpoint, but still a lot of impact, which it's cool when a guy, I mean, it feels to me, if you call him like max attributes Paul George, what do you think about that comparison?
I've this has been my position for like years now. I've always said he is the Paul George of this generation. And so I think he's Jason Tatum is a defensive player. So that's what you get out of him. And the offense, it's just up and down. And honestly, I feel like Paul George's highs are higher, but I'm Paul George.
Whoa, okay.
I'm Paul George.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
But you know who had a great Jason Tatum take is
Who?
our boy Ball Don't Stop. He said,
"Dude, no way we got the same Church of Ball Don't Stop quote written down."
I have his Twitter pulled up. So he said, Jason Tatum hate is so forced. It's like people want him to underperform. He's just made the right play today and he didn't force the issue or hijack the game. He might not even win finals MVP. The way they play doesn't empower him to cook unless games are tight. It is what it is. So I love that because it goes back to I feel like we're on to something. We're uncovering something that people don't see. That Ball Don't Stop is a wholesome celebrator of basketball. He's not he doesn't cook, he doesn't attack anyone, does he?
I guess not. I feel like he has in the past though. Oh, I think one of the things people are critical of is that he will do a lot of like subliminal shit where like he'll be like, I don't know, in the James Harden versus Giannis MVP era, I'm sure he was probably like, Harden's so skilled. I can't believe anybody thinks that they're even close to his impact, especially, I mean, to be able to do this shit while averaging 9 assists and shooting this from 3. I don't know. I just don't think there's anyone else in the whole league that could do stuff like this. And so I'm sure, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of been his shtick for a little while, at least in terms of like content aggregation. Like I feel like I've seen posts like that do pretty well. But he definitely likes basketball, more so than plenty of people who like actively contribute to these spaces. Like he fucks with basketball, and so yeah, I think that tweet is a good example of that.
I remember specifically he was really mad earlier in the season when Luka had the 70-point game or whatever. He was going on a rant about how like spacing ruined the NBA, 3-point spacing, and I was like, Jesus, what is this guy talking about? And then even in that tweet, he's like, the Celtics just didn't empower him to cook. I'm like, okay, we're not fully there. like I don't think this was an opportunity issue. He took 16 shots. But
that's my thing. It's like another like people when you do talk about Jason Tatum and you're like 42% from the field, it's not that good. And they bring up all of this other shit that he is good at, and it does make a positive impact in basketball. And he's not like, nobody is arguing that he is a negative basketball player. It's just arguing that, hey, we have seen you be one of the best players on the planet before. And so, like, we're kind of just holding you to the standards that you have established for yourself. Maybe make most of your shots sometime. That could be cool. Like, if you took 16, maybe 8 would be dope, but I don't know. And in this game, a lot of them are really difficult shots. His shot diet was not particularly efficient.
And they did not have to be. Like there was specifically a drive where he had 2 guys in front of him, and he could have done a dump off past the rim or kicked it out to someone at the corner. I think it was like Sam Hauser in the corner, but he was just. I think he was probably feeling it a little bit. I think he was like, I want to have a big game.
He wore the Kobe
as
shirt,
a
so yeah.
He did.
Yeah, the Celtics Kobe, like that picture of Kobe working out for the Celtics forever ago.
Oh no.
Yeah, he wore the same shirt from that picture. So he was in his Kobe bag, I guess. There was a great possession. If I was like a real troll and I was just trying to hate on him, I would have clipped it where it's a tough pull up mid range at the elbow. He's completely fucking smothered, bricks it. Drew Holiday offensive rebound, dumps it back off to Tatum. Tatum misses the layup, and then Al Horford cleans it up for like a putback layup. And I just wanted to be like, wow, this is what people mean when Tatum's getting carried offensively, guys. His teammates, they just have to fix all these problems he causes. No, I don't know. It was a fine game from him, especially in the context of how dominantly they won and how it never really got out of hand for them. I'm not going to be like super critical of it, but yeah, I just think Paul George, that's a good comp, and that's a good basketball player. Paul George is sick, but he's not like Giannis Jokic, Luka level.
Yeah, so he's the head of a very long, very, very powerful snake.
Kind of like Paul Pierce, a little bit. I figured that's like in a similar vein to Paul Pierce, and I'm thinking about it, where he's clearly not like a top 5 guy back in the day. I mean, maybe there's like 1 or 2 seasons you could push that agenda, but overall, just like a competent guy spearheading a very deep, very talented team. I think, yeah, that's a good comp. I'm happy with it at least.
I think. Well, KG was the best player on that team. I do think Tatum's still the best player on this team.
Yeah, that's fair. Because yeah, you're right. Garnett definitely was. That's not what I meant to imply. But yeah, I'm on board with Tatum being the best player. I feel like if the roles were reversed and like it was Tatum capitalizing on Brown's rim pressure, scoring gravity, passing ability, all of that shit. First of all, the team would be worse because Brown's worse at all of that stuff. But also Tatum's numbers would look way better, and his life would be much easier. He is living the most difficult basketball life of anybody on the Celtics right now.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that'll like if he has like 2 more stinkers, will that shift and like Jaylen Brown goes crazy? Will they shift defenses towards him, and he's like, hey, I get to have the shifted defenses my way. Yeah, I everyone is rooting against the Celtics, which I think is deserved because they're the Celtics. But yeah, I almost want to see them win just to get some hate off of Jason Tatum. Because if it doesn't happen this year, when will it ever happen? Like this team is so deep.
Yeah, because like if you look at and the run is legit. The run is legit. I'm not gonna be here and be like it's bullshit that everyone they played fell apart. It happens. It is what it is.
No one was gonna beat them anyway.
Yeah, that's probably true. But in terms of number one, like you don't have to see Brunson and the Knicks. You don't have to see Embiid and the Sixers. You don't have to see the Bucks. You don't have to really see the Heat. Just in terms of like teams that would really like give you a grueling series.
The Heat would beat them. I forgot about the Heat. The Jimmy Butler Heat would beat them. But
the Heat, I don't know,
outside of that, no one's beating them.
Yeah, and so in terms of that, you probably won't get that to line up again next season. Like that was just something that worked out. Every championship run needs a fair amount of luck. That was lucky that it lined up for you that way. It's also lucky that Porzingis is back right in time for the most important series, and he's playing at a very high level right away. And those two things go together because there is an argument that maybe Porzingis comes back sooner if they are like fighting for their lives in the conference finals instead of just like calmly outplaying Andrew Nemhard or whoever down the stretch of the fourth quarter. And so those two things I think you could argue you can't count on every single year. One of the big questions with Porzingis is like, will he hold up for an entire postseason run? You didn't even necessarily need to answer that this year because he didn't, and it's worked out fine anyways. You're in the finals and he's playing. So I think, if you want to talk about will they have this opportunity again, I don't know if that's guaranteed. And even if they do, it's going to be like a long, hate-filled year, 2 years for Tatum, for everybody who's here, this quote-unquote super team or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, people will dunk all over them.
And surely Al Horford will be done soon. I don't understand how Al Horford is holding up on switches on Luka in the year of 2024. What an insane player.
What I was thinking about was Jaden McDaniels sitting at home watching Sam Hauser poke the ball away from Luka Doncic in isolation, like get a turnover. That has to feel like the most insane thing ever. Just feeling like how that the ball wasn't there when I played him. Like he was just taking care of this is insane. Because it's Jaylen Brown did a really good job on Luka. I thought as good as you can expect somebody to do. He still finished with 30 and 10 on good efficiency. But Sam Hauser getting a steal on Luka just purely off of like reading his handle. I thought that was very funny. And yeah, you're right, Horford. It's insane that he's still here. It's insane. I always forget that he went on like the full Philadelphia to Oklahoma City road trip.
He was washed. I don't understand it.
Yeah. And then they brought him back, and he's like, I can guard Embiid for 6 games.
I'm actually the best at guarding Embiid and Giannis and Luka. And I'm 40. And I can stretch the floor.
Yeah, I'll give you a 7 to 12 from 3 game every now and then. Oh my god.
Remember back then, back in the day, they were like, he only gets 7 rebounds a game. He's not a real center. This guy's trash. That was like the thing they held over Al Horford's head.
Yeah. Horford, one of those guys, like you look at the Hawks team, you look at him being probably arguably their best player. I don't remember like the full scope of who is there.
Yeah, I would say it's because I think he's better than Teague. I think he's better than Prime Corver, and then I think he's better than Millsap.
Yeah, Millsap is the name that popped into my brain as to like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But yeah, he's spearheading that team. That team's ceiling is not very good, even though there is a lot of talent around there. But like you take him, you take all the stuff he does well, it transitions perfectly to being like the 4th or here like the 6th best player on the team. Yeah, he still has a tremendous amount of impact on a game-to-game basis at 38 years old without being a great athlete. It's really crazy. And that's another, you are right. Like if you told me he does this for 3 more years, I'd be like, okay, we're already here. It's not that surprising that like he just does this generational decade of old man basketball. But if you told me he falls off next season, I'd be like, that makes sense. He's really old.
I think he's 07 draft, right?
He is. Yeah. I saw like a trivia, maybe a TikTok or something where they were like, when was the iPhone released? And I saw one before that where they were like, Al Horford's so old. He was drafted 4 months before the iPhone. And so I was like, oh, the iPhone was released in 2007. And so I did like a Limitless thing where I saw information and then I recalled it and got trivia right on TikTok.
Nice. My Joakim Noah stock is being hurt by this. My Joakim Noah being better than Al Horford
I'm on board.
Higher,
I'm
higher
totally
peak,
fine with
higher
that.
peak.
Dude, it's so like Joakim Noah, first of all, the longevity. If
It's
he
not
had
there.
if he had Horford's longevity, I feel like he would wind up in a situation like Horford is in, where it's just like, okay, this guy can only do hustle shit at this point in his career, and he's not going 7 of 12 from three, but he'll give you.
But he was Jokic before
He
Jokic.
could give you 5 assists. He could give you 5. You make him the hub, a little Twin Towers action with him and Porzingis. I don't know. Who's to
Yeah.
say? Who's to say? Um,
I swear, and I think the stats are like horrific, but I swear like his last Memphis stint, he was still doing a little stuff. I don't know though. But Luka in this game had one of the most unbelievable basketball plays I've ever seen. He basically did like a MVP Derrick Rose play, but at like eight divide the speed by 8 or something.
okay.
He split a double team on the perimeter and then went and drove at 3 guys at the rim. Like 3 guys met him at the rim and he hung in the air and like adjusted the ball around them and then threw it up and got it in. It was like the craziest slow motion. Like it was a mixture of multiple Derrick Rose plays. Like do you remember the one where he like got the ball around Wade and LeBron in the
Yeah,
air?
yeah. Like he split the double in midair, right?
Yeah, in that one they were like chasing him down and he like baited them both and then went
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Okay, I know which one you're talking about
Yeah,
now.
Luca did that with an extra person. There was a third person there. But like in slow motion. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And then he split before that. He had a Derrick Rose pick and roll split in slow motion. I don't he's insane. Even in a rough game like this past game,
Hmm.
he was still, what did he have? 30 points on 26 shots.
I think 20. I thought it was 22, but I might be tripping. I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, this series is gonna be fun, at least from the perspective of the Celtics are a great defense. I think is Minnesota better? I think they probably still are. Luka is just a little better equipped to like go at them, and they're so much worse offensively that it feels like as a team like the Celtics just completely blow them out. But the Celtics are a great defense, and then Luka, especially when the rest of the team is not playing well, it's just kind of like this, all right, Mr. Transformative offensive player, show us what you got. Like cook every possession down the floor. And those kind of series, even though if the whole series is like that, the Celtics are going to win. Like that's not really a situation that Luka, even if he has a couple behemoth games, that's not really a situation where Luka is going to come out on top. But it will be very entertaining if that's how it rolls out. Because yeah, they are just asking him to do insane shit pretty much every time down the floor. And he did have 26 shots, by the way.
Yeah, he's really just got to get help from anybody that like they weren't making threes at all. Yeah, like I said, Gafford and Lively only took 4 shots. Kyrie wasn't making anything. Derek Jones Jr. was 2 of 9. PJ Washington scored 14 on 11 shots, but he was 0 for 3 from 3. Jaden Hardy had a good game. And then Josh Green and Maxi Kleber, in 20 minutes, they were 2 for 5 on offense combined. Like yeah, Josh Green was a little too nervous. He was passing up some bad open shot. Or
It did feel like that from several of the role players to me. I don't know. I don't have like specific names, but it did feel like once the ball got moving. First of all, this felt like uh, a game where Kyrie's analysis, like of the situation, like he would catch the ball off 2 passes, and there were several possessions where he would go into a triple threat stance and just like look around, and like the Celtics, you can't stop the ball movement like that. It has to be a split-second decision because they are so good at recovering, and they have these high-level defenders just everywhere on the floor that if you don't take advantage of the crack in the defense that's been created it's right back to square one. You have to recreate that rotation all over again, or at least that's how it played out last night. Yeah, I think it probably starts with Kyrie. I think you can criticize some of the role players for hesitancy, but what did they even? Okay, so that's 3, 5, 6, 7, 10. They only took 10 threes outside of Kyrie and Luka. And so I think part of that, Boston was really good at not letting them take threes, kind of forcing them into more difficult shots. And that got ugly because it was oftentimes catch and shoot guys, PJ Washington or Derek Jones Jr., whoever, being forced into like these, oh, you're running me off. I have to do like a one dribble pull up mid range type shot instead as the clock is going down. I'm not really sure how they counter that, but I'm excited to see him try, I guess.
The Mavericks are one of the most frequent corner shooting three teams in the league I saw, and the Celtics held them to 3 attempts, and so I did see like people saying that was they did a good job on defense, but also during the game there were openings like with PJ and with other guys at 3, but they just weren't making the passes. But maybe it was like a compounding thing where like they weren't making shots, so he didn't want to make passes. But yeah, overall, I'm not out on the Mavericks. I think there's a good chance that this game is just an aberration, and like if everyone's making their jump shots, then everything's different. And defensively, they got killed by Porzingis in that quarter. Like, yeah, a 23-5 run to end that first quarter. And it felt like they never could catch up. Like they actually did get it close that one time, but it felt like that first quarter was the big difference.
Yeah.
And
well, the next 3 quarters, the score was 69-70. I saw somebody put that out, and
wow.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot to like from the Mavericks too. They just, I think this will be. I would be pretty surprised if this ended up being like a sweep or anything like that.
Yeah, I think so too, because I do think, I think the offense becomes different when Kyrie plays well, and I think once that happens, and I think it's inevitable that Kyrie plays better than this. If he like averages 30% from the field for the series, that would shock me because he had a lot of really good looks in this game, a lot of open, like all 5 of his 3-pointers. I would love to go through and track them. It felt like they were at least open, if not wide open, and he just did not convert them. And that leads to a lot, like if guys aren't closing out on you, which obviously Boston probably wanted to, and it was because of screens or broken plays or whatever that led to him getting those looks. If you're not punishing them on those looks, then Kyrie's style of play becomes substantially more difficult because he's going at guys who there's just so many bigger than him bodies inside the arc with this Boston team. Even if he gets around Holiday or White or whoever they're throwing at him, then yeah, like I mentioned, there's Brown and Tatum and Horford. Like there's just a bunch of guys ready to make his life much more difficult, and also ready for the dump off pass, because even in the OKC series when he struggled, I thought his playmaking with Lively and with Gafford to some extent, mostly with Lively, I thought it was really good. And like he still had a solid offensive impact in that series through his playmaking. I did not feel like it was like that in this game at all. He finished with 2 assists and 3 turnovers, and it felt more stagnant than that.
Yeah, they definitely got stagnant at points, but like we said, that was a result of the switching. And then off the ball on defense for both of these teams, there's been an insane amount of like pre-switching going on. It's just constant, like it's like a domain expansion between Missoula and Kidd. It's like they're just like I saw one play where like Kyrie got a screen an action to shoot going to the corner, but it was a fake out. It was just to get Al Horford to the corner so that he wouldn't be able to help on Luka's drive, and then they did that. And then there were other moments where they kept trying to get Kyrie rotated down to be the low man so the Celtics could attack the rim, but him and PJ kept preemptively switching. It was it's a lot of crazy stuff going on. They're both of these guys. They've beat I think they're beating the
idiot
allegations. Yeah,
stupid. You know what? Whoa! I have a second round of Missoula versus Bamboozle here for you.
Oh,
yeah. Shout out to Mallory. Lobbyist request for this in person. She didn't even type it out. She wanted a second one. I was like, fuck it, because there was a couple good ones in the news cycle recently that I saw. So yeah,
I've been locked on him. So this might be an easy dub for me.
Fuck. It's fine. It's fine. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe 1, 2. We have 4 real ones, 3 fake ones. What do you want? What do you want to guess? What will be a dub for you?
I want to go 100%. Anything less is failure in honor of Joe Mazzulla.
Okay. All right. So right off the bat, we have, unless they change the light bulbs in the arena, the lights will not be any brighter than they were last round.
That's true. He said that.
That is true. Starting off with a layup, you know? All right. Next one. You know the different settings on a box fan, how one seems to be low, then you turn it up one, and it's like you're sitting in front of an airplane. That's what this offense is like sometimes.
That's fake.
That is fake. Good job. Okay. All right. So you're 2 for 2. I just finished reading a great article that you wrote in 2016 that the Celtics shot too many threes, and they shot 42, and that was 7 years ago. And they only shot 5 more tonight, and they lost 121 to 114. And you blame the offense, but not the defense. So what's your fascination with too many threes for the last 7 years?
That one is true.
It is. He was asking Gary Washburn. He was mad at him for asking about threes.
He pulled up the receipts.
Oh, all right. Never wear a suit again. I wore a suit and I was really uncomfortable. I'm pissed that I did that.
Oh, interesting. This is my toughest test yet. I'm gonna say that's fake.
It's real. Oh,
no,
you're fake. You're fake ball.
When did he say that?
I don't know. I was combing through. I don't have the exact date, but somebody asked him about a job interview he had with the Jazz before the Celtics hired him. And he was like, I wore a suit and I'm mad about it. I would never do that again.
Imagine him coaching Ice Bryce. That's literally Phil Jackson and Kobe. And Phil
Jackson. Wow, we've been robbed. This game is like a dragon. We ride the dragon.
Is that fake?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I was gonna say that's crazy. I thought, is that all of them?
No, I have. I'll do one more, and you can guess. Let's go 50-50 here.
Okay.
You will get the best night's sleep ever, but you have to sleep with your mouth taped shut.
Oh, I'm gonna say that's fake, but that sounds like it could be real for me.
No, it's real.
That is awesome.
he sleeps with his mouth. He has a mouthpiece now that he tapes in, I think, but he sleeps with his mouth taped shut.
I see that on TikTok. People want to promote nose breathing or whatever.
Well, I have a deviated septum, so I can't do that. My nose, it doesn't really breathe great. I'm a mouth breather through and through, and so yeah. I remember. So, did you ever do sports in high school?
Not organized.
Okay, well,
just on the streets.
Yeah. You were a latchkey kid. Yeah. So when I was in high school, at least, coaches would yell at you, put your hands above your head, and then breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And that was supposed to be the scientific way to get better oxygen circulation.
I was told hands on the head, but I wasn't told the other part.
Hands on the head, I feel like works. And maybe nose through mouth works too. Not for me, because my nose doesn't breathe good. And so for a while, before I realized that my nose was different than everyone else's, I was just actively suffocating myself through this like we would run sprints, and then I would just be like, like a nose inhale for me, it gets like 70% of a breath. And so like I was just slowly like losing my overall oxygen content breathing like that. And so yeah, oh yeah, so I can't sleep with my mouth taped shut. It's probably not a good move. Maybe I'll sleep with my nose plugged. That could be the reverse.
Yeah, I really don't want to limit my options when I'm asleep. I'd rather have all the holes open.
Whoa! Oh my god. Okay. What was I
The
gonna say?
the breathing holes grow
The
up.
breathing holes. He plugs his ears, people. Yeah. So other than that, in terms of like game shit, I did think this was a bit. So like 26% from three. Luka takes 12 of their 27 3-point attempts. I have faith that the Mavs can be better than that. I should have looked up what the Celtics were holding people to in opponent 3-point percentage. I didn't do that. I assume it was pretty good with the way they played this game, but still, I think the corners are still going to be really difficult. Boston is too good of a defensive team, and they're too good at like handling a downhill Luka drive to just completely abandon PJ Washington in the corner. And so I think they will probably have to get some production from the wings instead of just the corner 3-point attempts. But I do think that's a way that they could get back into this game. And again, if they don't get completely fucking nuked in that first quarter, there's a world where this is a competitive game. Jackson Frank had a good tweet where he was like, the score does affect how they play the rest of the game. So it's not like the final three quarters were just this isolated basketball game where nothing changed and they still like it was just magically competitive all of a sudden. But I do think I'm with you. I'm not completely like Mavs or Celtics in 5 or anything like that. I think the Mavs can make it competitive.
Yeah, and so I looked up how many teams have lost game 1 of the NBA Finals and have gone on to win. Since 2000, there have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. Do you want to try and guess these?
Okay, 8 teams, and
we'll go in descending order.
So in terms of like most recent?
Yeah, so the most recent. So who did it before this? Who lost game 1 and still won the series?
The 2016 Cavs.
No, well you're right. But there were 2 teams that have done it more recent than them.
The Raptors?
No.
The Bucks.
Yes, the Bucks did it versus Phoenix, but they're not the most recent.
Oh, the Warriors. Yeah, the Bucks and the Warriors both started like 0-2 or whatever.
The Warriors did it versus these exact Celtics. Wow, Ime Udoka, fraud. Yeah, so you got the first 3. Now you got the last 5. So
okay,
who was after 2016?
Okay, so
before,
Bucks, Warriors, Cavs. Did the 2013 Heat do it?
Yeah, the Spurs won game 1 against the 2013 Heat.
LeBron is a fucking loser through and through. Even when he wins, he's a loser at the start. Okay, so 2013, 2011, did the Mavs do it?
They did do it.
Okay.
But you're missing one in between.
2013, did the Heat did it in 2012 too?
Yeah, the Thunder won game 1 in 2012.
The Thunder were favored. That's kind of crazy. I saw that was like a big thing on Twitter. It was like what would be the biggest finals upsets, and this would be up there in terms of like sports betting odds. But yeah, it's just crazy how much the 2011 finals like fucked up people's belief. They were just like, oh, LeBron's going to choke again, and so the Thunder. That's probably one of the contributing reasons. But yeah, so 2013, 2012, 2011. There's 3 more.
It was a three-peat of game 1 losses or wins or whatever.
Now
so
there's a decade with 2.
There's 2 more.
Oh my god. Are they like both concentrated in one half of the decade?
They're within 5 years of each other.
Okay. Did the 2008 Celtics do it?
No,
2010
nope,
Lakers.
nope.
Um, let me think. When the Spurs swept LeBron in
Yeah,
2007, right? Okay. Let's do the Pistons.
nope.
Fuck. The Heat.
What? Yes, the
Okay.
Heat. Miami versus the Dwayne Wade Dirk showdown, and then the final one. This is a very iconic Game One performance.
Oh, Allen Iverson. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2001 Sixers. Okay, I gotcha.
So, could the Mavericks add themselves to this list? We'll see.
Maybe. But I don't know, dude. There's something about like the boss. They just feel so much more talented. Like even if you take Boston's three best players and Kyrie and Luca handily outplay those three combined, it still feels like the Celtics would have a really solid shot at winning just by their margin players outplaying Dallas's.
Yeah, they had like in this game alone. So Tatum didn't even score well, but Tatum did well overall. Jalen Brown had a good game. Porzingis had a good game. Al Horford had a good game. Holiday and White had good games. Sam Hauser had a good game. So it's like, man, where do you go wrong?
And Peyton Pritchard 0 of 7 off the bench. Like, and that's kind of a like mild meme player, but he can have an impactful game off the bench. Like, he is capable of having 15 and like being a difference maker in, I don't know, non-Luca minutes or bench unit minutes, whatever. So yeah, it just feels like there is a lot less wiggle room for Dallas. That's my big point. Is that it's like, and I keep tying it back to Kyrie, and it's not all his fault. Like, Boston just shot better; they made shots, and Dallas, there's plenty of blame to go around there, but it just feels like it's more understandable for PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. to play poorly. There's no wiggle room. Your two best players have to be two of like the four best players in every game if you're Dallas and you want to win this.
Yeah, I think Kyrie needs to have a good series if he wants to be in the best point guard of all time conversations because they're throwing him in there. So I think you gotta do better than tonight if you're the GOAT point guard.
Yeah. There was some there was an interesting all-time conversation I saw him in where I don't know, it's just when people started assuming after the Wolves series, people were like, "Oh, the Mavs are gonna win," like just because there is a lot of Celtics hate, and that kind of contributes to people's misguided hope for the Mavericks. And so once people started penciling that in, then it's like, "Oh, if Kyrie wins, his all time is him versus Harden all time and shit like that." And it's just like, no, that's two different tiers of players. Even though Kyrie, it's cool that he's kind of revitalized his second option career after a really tumultuous exit from Cleveland all the way through to Dallas picking him up. But yeah, you don't get a pass just because you're fucking sick, just because you make dope dribble moves. He also dribbled the ball off his foot in this game, which is always that's like a sign from God. Like, you're not, this is a bad game, man. Like, if Kyrie's making dribble mistakes, that's tough.
That is on like deeper nerd NBA Twitter circles, that is a thing where people are like, he's not the best ball handler of all time. He's a little too loose with it. Chris Paul's way better. Chris Paul's
That's such a fucking nerd take. Oh my God. Because I see the dork argument. My brain doesn't give into it. Like, dribbling, I'm totally on board with the eye test in dribbling. Like,
Yeah.
it's just eye test for me. And like the efficiency with which Chris Paul uses his moves to like change direction and cover ground, I don't care, bud. I don't care. Kyrie is cooler. He did the behind the back reverse in the All-Star game. Never seen Chris Paul do that. So he's probably incapable of it. But Chris Paul's pretty sick too. I saw him. There was something about him on Twitter too lately. Maybe him like being the fourth best player of the 2010s. That was an agenda I saw pushed online because Pat Bev asked that on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
It was
I
like
saw him like downplaying Kawhi, which is weird because they were teammates.
maybe he didn't like him. Maybe Kawhi didn't want to come on the pod.
Maybe he resents Kawhi because he said the next 5 years are mine or whatever, and he was hitching his wagon to Kawhi, and then it didn't work.
He's writing a check, and Kawhi's like, "I don't know you like that. Get off my team." Yeah. So Chris Paul, Chris
For
Paul
the fourth best player. Wait, so who was LeBron? They said KD, Steph.
Yeah, LeBron, Steph, KD are the top three. And then it's like there's a whole bunch of guys you could pick. You could do Kawhi, you could do Harden, you could do Chris Paul. Could you do Westbrook? I feel like you're an anti-Westbrook guy.
I think I'll give you a legacy take. Kyrie's above Westbrook for me easily.
Holy shit!
Like that one is not a thought in my head. We guys, we don't have to go down that list. We don't have to go down that list of what point guards I'd rather have.
We can have Aaron Schroeder on here. He's a huge anti-Westbrook guy, and we could just run down the list of guys. Well, who. I wonder, it'd be more fun to ask you guys who could recreate his MVP season if you give him 40% usage.
Oh man!
And
if you gave them a lobotomy and zapped their contents away.
Only on the basketball court. By all accounts, great teammate. Everybody loves him.
Russell Westbrook, the off-court criticisms are not accurate because he is universally loved everywhere he goes. There's no better example of this than Kevin Durant on his burner was not talking poorly about Westbrook, which I do think there was probably a disconnect. I don't think he loved playing with Westbrook. I think he probably got a little tired of the ball hogging hero ball tendencies. But even on his burner, he was like, KD and Westbrook can't win with those cats. He's like, they're getting these guys to play with Kevin Durant and Westbrook. They're not even good. It's like he still thought highly of Westbrook. And Paul George loved Westbrook. Like he's a great person, way better person than Steph Curry. But
which is ironic. Maybe that gives credence to you do need to be a psychopath to be a great basketball player.
On the court, how many more shots a game does Michael Carter-Williams need to do it?
Oh my God, you're such a baby. You guys are gross. So yeah,
Michael Carter-Williams, game one of his career versus the best Westbrook game. Who are you taking?
I've seen the best Westbrook game. It kept the Nuggets out of the playoffs in 2018 or
was
2017.
That when
no, it was game was tied, like 2 seconds left. They run a fucking, like, Steven Adams sets the greatest screen of all time for Westbrook to do a curl and shoot a 34-footer from three, and he fucking buries it at the buzzer, and they win, and the Nuggets miss the playoffs.
Better than Steph.
Better than Steph. Steph doesn't have it like that. Steph, he's a regular season merchant. I don't know. I'd have to go back through. The 2022 playoffs, it's an interesting time for me because I knew the Nuggets weren't going to do anything, and so I was kind of resigned to the fact that they were going to lose to the Warriors. I was still upset that they did it, and who else did the Warriors play? They played the Mavs, and there was like a Mavericks conference finals, and it could have been the Blazers in the second round. Now I'm confused. 2022 Warriors. Oh, it's the Grizzlies, and this is a fake fucking title run. Oh my God.
The Ja Morant?
Yeah.
Interesting. But of the 2010s, I think Kawhi and James Harden, I think, have to be above Chris Paul.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I don't know who else.
I feel like that's probably it. But I'd have to go through. Maybe I always feel like it's fun to go through MVP voting and see who was getting like 6 MVP votes. I feel like that gives you an interesting insight into who like the fringe better players in the NBA are. I wonder who did that in like 2015. Kawhi was probably doing it back then because he was like not full on brand new Kawhi. Oh, I was gonna ask, how do you feel about Kawhi versus Dwayne Wade? That was something that was on my timeline a lot because I had Kawhi like fence borderline over Dwayne Wade. The question was like how many active players are better than Dwayne Wade all time, and I said Steph, LeBron, KD, Giannis, Jokic, and then maybe Kawhi. And the timeline was very split. A lot of people were like, "Fuck no, not Kawhi. Absolutely, Kawhi is better." What do you think?
When it comes to legacy like discussions, I think probably like when it comes to like accolades and the trophy shelf, I think probably Dwayne Wade. Well, yeah, definitely Dwayne Wade. But when it comes to like pure ability, like 3-year peak or something, like who was at their best, I'm very high on Kawhi. Like I got into me and Montaigne were arguing this one time. I
Oh,
think Kawhi, you could argue with me. You can argue that ability wise, Kawhi was as good or better than Kevin Durant.
oh, I mean, I don't hate that. God, it's just Kawhi is really one of like the great robberies of our time. Like
Mm-hmm.
the cool finals run. I mean, obviously the finals run, but just like the cool playoff runs he's had. It's it's a real testament to how good he is when he's healthy. That this idea of a healthy Kawhi, we are all just sold on like, oh yeah, that can easily be like the foundational piece of a title team. If you could get 4 series out of him, he can absolutely be that kind of guy.
It's just so rare to get that kind of elite, like he literally was having like Michael Jordan type runs where he's
Mhm.
insane mid range shot creation and then high level defense. And to be fair, Dwayne Wade was too. But Dwayne Wade couldn't shoot from 3. Kawhi could.
Yeah, I think there's an argument. Dwayne Wade, I like way more as a floor raiser. Just in terms of like, I don't know if
He's a
Kawhi.
better passer for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you ask the best version, and Kawhi's become a really good passer, I feel like, but Wade is like from the start on a different level. Um, but I feel like if you ask Kawhi to take like the 2010 Heat to the playoffs or something, that might be a big ask for him just in terms of like his body breaking down. But maybe he could, like, if you guarantee his health, maybe he could do that. We've just never really seen him have to like carry a trash team like that. And it's never, even if they asked him to do that, I feel like he would sit out because he's like, my body is already falling apart. Like I'm not going to do this for you guys.
Yeah. I love Kawhi.
Yeah, Kawhi's pretty sick. All right, we could get to. First of all, I did want to say I'm cool with these episodes being an hour and a half long right now. Sorry, listeners. Well, first of all, you guys are. This is free, so you'll be fine. But second of all, I'm cool with that. We could get. I have 3 lobbyist requests down here though, so let's go through those. Let me timestamp this bitch. 118. All right. Oh, so Ebi Moshiri, this is where I had the ball don't stop quote written down. It says, it feels like people have an idea of evil Jason Tatum built up in their head because he's on the Celtics, when in reality, he's one of the least problematic and overall quiet players in the league. I need some pro Tatum propaganda. First of all, he's a dork. I hate to break it to you. Like, he is a nerd with the Kobe, texting Kobe I got you today, fam, or whatever. Like that is some dork shit. And I mean, that is not to say like I'm criticizing his relationship with like a huge inspirational mentor in his life or whatever. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm just saying like posting that screenshot on Instagram is going like stuff like that. It's gonna get you criticism. I don't know how else to phrase it. And then yeah, on top of that, I don't know. He doesn't have the sauce like that. He hasn't had it for a while. What do you think?
I think we could do the attractive man versus sexual harassment. We could do that with Tatum and Kyrie, like underperforming and having a bad scoring game in the finals and being like a Kobe disciple in that way. There's some things like I mean, everyone loves Anthony. I guess he's not doing it on purpose, so I guess that's the difference. Like he's just cooler, but yeah, I think the Kobe stuff, like they hate on Tatum for it, but I feel like they embrace it with other people too much. Like they use it as a pro to where, like if you're a Kobe disciple, you're like a better player because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I think over the course of this episode, we've done some pro Tatum talk. And
He literally just had 12 points on 19 shots. Or wait, that was Kyrie. He had 16 on 16 shots and more turnovers than assists. And we're like, this is a good game. This is a passable game. So I feel like that's a fair amount of propaganda. You're lucky I'm not hating.
Shout out one of the best defensive players of his generation, Jason Tatum. Better defender than Kobe.
Oh, yeah. If you want to talk about like a long list of guys with the Westbrook thing, holy shit. 10-time first defense all member, Kobe Bryant. I got a list of guys that can defend better. Lou Dort, where you at? I don't know about that.
When it comes to the two-way stars, how many of them is Tatum better at defense than?
Like two-way right now or two-way
like,
all time?
Like all time. Like who else is known for defense and offense? Like he's better defensively than KD.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is he better than Chris Paul? Chris Paul to me is like the best a guard can be defensively, but I think that's an interesting look into like a great wing just being more impactful than like a GOAT caliber guard defender strictly off of like how size impacts defensive play.
Yeah, I would take Tatum's defense because the rim protection, I think.
Tatum's rim protection
puts
is insane, dude. Like, and it's insane that's I don't know, mildly a more nuanced part of his game. Like that's not a part of his game that you see talked about a ton online or that I quote unquote casuals associate with how he plays basketball. His rim protection is like routinely one of the most impactful parts of his game when he has an off night. Like that is how he justifies being out there. That's how he is like a plus 19 is his contributions on that end of the floor. He's really good.
Yeah. He's better than Larry Bird. Oh no.
Can you see me?
I got an alert. Oh yeah. I got an alert that said
about Larry Bird?
No. The Bulls, Thunder, Grizzlies, and Jazz have discussed trading up to draft Donovan Clingan. And so it says from ESPN. I don't know who from ESPN, but if it was a Shams alert, I'd throw it out.
Oh my God. Shams fake shit, man. He's fallen off. It's crazy. It's crazy how the credibility, like, I feel like that JJ Redick report, that might be the last report I read from him where I'm like, oh, I trust this. Now I'm just kind of like, are you 100%? Because I do feel like there's
load too quickly.
Oh yeah, and he also, someone pointed it out, he never has any supplementary information. Like Woj has like an article that is fully fleshed out, being like, this is how the search has gone for the last several months. This is what they're doing. This is what their backup plan is. Blah blah blah. They're trying to get him for a big, long, multi-year extension. And Shams is always just like, JJ Redick's on their radar, and that's it.
Sometimes he's got the kiss of death where he's like, yeah, this guy sucks. This guy's just sucked for 6 months straight. They hated him back in December. This one time they wanted to shoot him in the hotel lobby and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So yeah, Tatum, He'll be fine. The Paul George of his generation. That's a cool player. NyQuil Jordan, 23, wants to know, it's the second quarter, and if he can keep this up through this series, Tingus Pingus for Finals MVP. I don't know. It's interesting to me. This feels like the first series in a while where we have legit potential for like a narrative-driven MVP. Like kind of 2015 Warriors-esque, where obviously they're not really looking to bring in an Iguodala to clamp up Luka or whatever. They don't need that after game one at least. But just in terms of like Tatum might have a down series, and so whoever can do the most impressive shit in 3 of their next 4 games or whatever, just like over the course of this series, they have a real shot at the MVP if Tatum continues to play this way. I think it could be Porzingis, but I would, if it's not Tatum, I would put my money on Brown. I'll say that much.
If Porzingis does this every game, it'll be him. If he does this every game next season, he'll be regular season MVP. I don't right now he's the favorite, but who knows? If I think if Dallas wins, it'll like 95% be Luka. But if Boston wins, yeah, it's really up in the air.
Yeah. Derek White, Finals MVP, would move mountains. It's not going to happen, but it would be really funny. It'd be so funny. Oh, my God.
A casualty of history, of being on the wrong side of history, 2013 Danny Green. He was supposed to win it.
What were his averages in that series? Do you know?
He had like a big 3-point shooting first couple games, which I think it might look normal now, or maybe it'll still be a lot, but I don't know. But he was like going crazy.
Yeah, I remember for a long time, Danny Green was like the definitive shooter in my head. Before Steph really exploded like that, I was Danny Green he's crazy, man. How are the Spurs doing this right now? Okay, so yeah, 55% from 3 over a 7-game series, 49 attempts. So that's not insane volume. Let me see. That's probably like 7 attempts a game.
What's 7 times 7?
49. It's literally 7 attempts per game. I'm cracked with the calculator. Yeah. So 55% on 7 attempts a game for 2013. That is revolutionary. That's like, I mean, that's like a generational gravity bending.
Ray Allen. Yeah. Stole it from him.
Oh man! Shout out to Ray Allen. Shout out to Mike Miller. I love him. He's so sick.
His shoe fell off.
And he still made a 3. He made him call timeout. His shoe fell off. He made the other team call timeout. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm just looking at the roster now. Shout out to Shane Battier. A lot of fun names on there.
But yeah, this will be like it'll be reminiscent of those Spurs teams where it's like championship by committee.
Yeah. Oh man, Spurs. Everybody go watch the 2014 Spurs if you want to see cool ball movement. The Celtics have a little bit of it. They show flashes where it just like flies around the court until it gets to an open 3-pointer or a dunk.
They don't have any sexy passers. The 2014 Spurs, they had Boris Diaw,
baby.
They had even Tony Parker is doing some crazy stuff. Who's the coolest passer on the Celtics?
Literally nobody. Both of their guards are nerds. Porzingis is not a passer. Jaylen Brown just became okay at it, and Tatum can only do like driving kicks to the corner.
The lack of cool passing.
Yeah, I mean they need
Marcus Smart had some.
Yeah, Marcus Smart's like highlight ceiling is so much higher than the rest of this roster because his like not pointless confidence, but just like confidence outside of his ability a little bit was so insane. Yeah, irrational confidence where he's just like, I can make this pass. And sometimes he could make that pass. And it's like, is this literally Gary Payton? And other times it's like, he can't make this pass. This is Swaggy P. Yeah. So NyQuil Jordan, John just John wants to know, in memory of Bill Walton, who are your top 5 or favorite players out of the conference champions? So is that like just in this series right now? Who are my 5 favorite players? Oh God, I don't love that many players in this series. I love basketball, and this is an entertaining series, but I am rooting for everyone to lose, you know?
Yeah. I would probably say Luca is my one.
Number 1, white boy of the year.
White boy of the year. I see myself in him as a guy
Well, I
who is
uninstalled
white.
Overwatch, by the way.
You couldn't hang?
Well,
I saw this part of the Stay Hot podcast. You didn't realize you get banned.
I got fucking.
Were you leaving competitive games?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like not
good.
not mid game. Like it would be the end of the game. And what happened the night, like when I got banned was I was going to sleep and I was like, well, fuck this. I'm just turning the Xbox off. And so there's like 30 seconds left and I just shut it off. And then I woke up the next morning and it was just, you're done for the season. So now I'm on Destiny.
It usually goes in increments though. You didn't get anything before that? Like
I got a 20-hour lockdown the week before it happened. But I didn't there was no like next time you do this, and so I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, they go crazy with it, but it doesn't deter people because people still leave on my team all the time, and and then I get the L.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't having that much fun anymore. It was all right for a while, but I don't know. I'm thinking about buying Elden Ring because there's new DLC dropping.
A lot of hype.
I know. I'm torn between Elden Ring or Red Dead Redemption 2. Because you've been pushing Red Dead at me, and I do love a cowboy thing, but then there's actual content coming out for Elden Ring. And I love fantasy's cool. Fantasy's in right now. I could be like a magic like ninja wizard or something. I don't know. You would love Elden Ring. You'd be super into it. All right. So I like Luca, and I think Derek White's fun. I don't really like Drew Holiday that much. I like Derek Jones Jr. Well, can you hear me? Oh God. Let me pause this. All right. So I was just saying I like
my phone overheated.
iPhone overheated, everybody. The CIA is targeting him with a hot phone beam. They don't want us to get these top 5 out there.
Top 5 conference finals.
Well, I guess it says conference champions. So
okay.
I feel like that's just people in. It's a weird way to say just like players in the finals. But I'm going to say, I said Derek Jones Jr., Luca, Derek White, Derek Lively. We just do a Derek team because I do like Lively a lot.
Derek Lively too.
Yeah, all Derek all the time.
Oh, I like Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford would be my 4.
Oh man, I'm gonna say I'll do Al Horford to keep the Pro Dominican podcast alive. It's funny at this point. The bit that he is just still good. It'll be funny until he's not good anymore.
And this isn't fair, but I'm gonna throw him in anyway. Joe Mazzulla. He's my favorite. He's my favorite person in the series. I can't leave him out.
Yeah, it's crazy that like that gets me close to rooting for the Celtics. Is just like the coaching difference. I'm like, oh, Jason Kidd versus Joe Mazzulla. This is like the biggest wash of all time. Go Celtics, but not really. I don't want them to win. So yeah, I'll go Mazzulla. That gives me Luca, White, Lively, Jones Jr., and Joe Mazzulla. I'm down with that team. I like that. Joe Mazzulla, he played at West Virginia or some shit. He could sub in.
I wish I could see his reaction to Ime Udoka, the scandal. I would love to see what he would say. What would be his sage advice?
Oh, go to Houston. They've got a big man down there that's kind of fun.
He'd be like, people get betrayed every day. I'm not. Why would I be surprised?
Oh my God. This is why I've severed all emotional connections. This is just a job to me, but I'm passionate.
I embrace betrayal.
That would be something he would say. I embrace betrayal. I'm not just prepared for it. I use it to strengthen myself. Absolutely. All right. That's pretty much all we got for lobbyist requests. Sorry, I mean, an hour and a half. To be honest, us giving you 2.5 hour episodes every week, that will continue when the regular season is going and everything. But in the off season, I don't know how consistently we're going to be able to produce that. Maybe we could start a bit where we watch a different sports movie every week, or we get into the maybe the WNBA. I could get into that. I don't know. But oh, what? Wow! Somebody in the room thinks it's funny. Thinks the WNBA is a joke.
Wow.
Why wouldn't I be able to get into it?
You said, I don't know if I can get it in.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying I definitely can get into it. God damn. Now I'm just having a this is what podcasts are all about, baby. Now I'm just actively having a conversation into a microphone. Shout out to Asia Wilson. Is there a new Hot Tunes TV China episode up?
Oh, the latest one is Alex Sarr. It's doing well. It has like 1.4K views. Whoa.
Hey.
And it's from YouTube recommending it. So I'm in the algorithm. I'm getting pushed out to the masses.
We are not in the algorithm. We never get any like YouTube recommended videos. So I mean, maybe I got to work on better thumbnails. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I'm working on one. I'm I'm just in the editing part right now, which makes me want to off myself. But I got the Zachary Rizachet video is coming, and then Stefan Castle will be after that.
Sweet. All right. Well, go check all that shit out, everybody, and we'll see you on Patreon.com/State of the League tomorrow, or we'll see you next week. I don't know. Talk to you later. Bye.